I know that his command is everlasting life. Therefore, whatever I speak, just as the Father has told me, so I speak. He is saying the words in this book, the words he has spoken, the words from God, they are life and death. Y'all ever heard that term before? Yes. This book is the power of life and death. And it is absolutely true. If you follow the words written in this book, if you listen to what God is telling you and apply it in your life, you will live and live eternally. But if you don't, if you choose to ignore the right and truth of this word, you will die. And you will die in darkness. And here's the worst part: abandonment from God. And I've said this before, and I know that many of you have probably heard this before, but they have discovered a God gene in your genome. They believe that there is now a gene inside of you that, for whatever reason, and they can't explain it because it serves zero evolutionary purpose, causes us to believe in something outside of ourselves. Right? They can't explain it, but it has that effect. That one gene has that effect on your brain. But that gene is only giving you the ability, the capacity for belief. See, God gave us the ability to choose to listen to it or not. You can still consciously decide to believe what I'm saying is true or not. To believe what the Bible is saying is true or not. It still comes down to your decision to believe. Faith is the substance of things you don't see, but what you hope for. We have a hope in Jesus. We have a hope in the sacrifice and the words that he spoke. We have this wonderful gift, and it is a gift, a free gift that we just have to accept as true. But still many people refuse. Because what? It causes me to self-reflect. I now must look at my life and my choices and say, am I okay? Have I done right? Have I done right by what God's measuring standard is? Because you could be right by the world and still completely wrong by God, right? For many of us, it boils down to how we decide whether we choose to listen and believe what the Word tells us about God, that Jesus has came and gave us these simple truths to follow, or we decide to go our own way. These teachers, these so-called prophets, were easily identifiable as false prophets, wouldn't you say? For example, not a single prophecy that the Jehovah's Witnesses have predicted has ever came true. Not once. They've predicted the end of the world 17 times since their inception. 17 times. And not one time has it ever happened. Not once. What did I tell you about it in Deuteronomy? How will you know a prophet is worth his salt? If it comes to pass. Not a single prophecy that Muhammad ever said ever came true. Not one. Hold on to that for a minute. Islam is the largest religion on this planet. And not a single prophecy that man made came true. Not one. Now let's look at Jesus. In Jesus' 33 years on this planet, he fulfilled 300 plus prophecies from the Old Testament in the way he lived his life. That one man did over 300 prophecies in his own life from this book. Let's go back. Well, y'all remember my chart? I didn't tell them to prep it, but y'all remember my cross-reference chart? Remember the rainbow? The Bible was the original hyperlink. You know how many of those things were cross-referenced prophecies? Over 1,000 prophecies were cross-referenced between the Bible. So you had a prophecy in the Old Testament that was fulfilled in the New Testament. happened all throughout this book. A prophecy, a fulfillment. Everything Jeremiah said was going to happen, happened. Everything Daniel said was going to happen, happened. Those people who were on the Daniel fast, he said, we'll look better at the end of this time period, and they did. It happened. It was a prophecy. He was a prophet. Prophets what they say comes from the Lord. When he says, this is from God, you can guarantee it's going to happen. But they are all very, very different from these